Hey, good morning, everyone. So let's start with the today's newspaper of the Hindu of 6th May 2023, and let's see what are the news articles which are useful for us today. So I can see there is a first article on the Manipur crisis, which we already read in the yesterday newspaper. What's really happening in the Manipur between the local tribal community and the ethnic group of the Manipur. So, Central Security Forces flood crisis hit Manipur. So, this article says that the Central Security Forces has been deployed in the Manipur. Okay, so around like 3,200 Central Reserve Police Force (CRPF) personnel, as well as Army and Indian Air Force teams have been deployed since Thursday. So, okay, so Center has took the next step in the Manipur and the article 355, so this can be useful for us just to remember article 355. So using the article 355, center is taking the control of the situation in the Manipur now. So what article 355 says, let me just quickly search about it. So article 355 says that in case of emergency, which contained in the part 18th of the Constitution of India, from article 352 to 360, it empowers the central government just to take all necessary steps to protect the states against internal disturbance and external aggressions. So this is the thing, like article 355, we have to remember, keep it in our mind just in case if it there will some questions based on this. Okay, so I think this is only the important fact or important thing from this article which I can just take out. Now moving on the next news article. Okay. Okay, so one small article is given on the left side of this front page. So Bhutto India decision on JK slammed the door shut on discussions. So as we know that HCO meeting is going on in Goa, and the different foreign ministers are just meeting and holding some bilateral meetings. So like we read in the yesterday newspaper, there was no bilateral meeting with Mr. Jaishankar and the Pakistan foreign minister. So what the Pakistan foreign minister says, like because of the 2019 decision of making Jammu Kashmir as an independent state, the bilateral, or you can say the discussion doors have been set between the two countries. So he is like pointing out that the decision was not good in favor of the both the countries. So he is just presenting his views. So okay, and also our Mr. Jaishankar also said like, yeah, because of this nature, they are not ready to talk with the foreign ministers or holding any bilateral meetings. So this was the statement they presented both sides. Now moving on to some other news articles. So okay, so 5 soldiers killed in gunfight in Jammu Kashmir Rajouri. Okay, so my condolences to all the soldiers and their families who were killed in this fight. I was reading like few days back there was also an attack in Punch district in Jammu Kashmir, and also there was some Maoist attack in Chhattisgarh, uh, and also there is going to be a G20 summit in Jammu Kashmir in the later months. So it's very concerning. Like these attacks have been taking place from past few days and few weeks. So 5 soldiers were killed and another was injured in gunfight with militants on Friday in the thick jungles of Rajouri Poonch sector of division. So the incident occurred during the combating operation by the security forces tracked down the attackers who killed 5 soldiers in the ambush on April 20. So they were searching for the attackers, and suddenly this attack happened. So because of the and this encounter took place on day Pakistan Foreign Minister Bilwal Bhutto Jardari was in Goa. Okay, so this is very bad right now because the foreign Pakistan foreign minister is in India, and during these visits only these attacks are taking places. And so because of this, India raises the strong issue of terrorism in the meetings of HCO as well. So the People Anti-Fascist Front PAPF, which claimed responsibility for the April 20 attack, again purposely posted messages online, claimed the role in encounter. Okay, so this organization PAPF is taking the claim of these attacks, and the explosive they use like IDs just for the explosive thing, and 5 soldiers were killed, and this whole thing is very bad that's happening in the Jammu Kashmir state. Yeah, so now let's move on to the another article. Okay, not any good article here. I'm moving on to the next page. Okay. This is also not. I'm moving on to the next page just to see if there is another article. All right. Let's see. One more thing, like from today onwards, I'm not going to just record the audio logs of the reading of the editorials and understanding those editorials in the same audio log of the reading the newspaper, because this making the audio log a bit longer. So I would be just recording that separately while reading those editorials and understanding the editorials. So I'm just skipping the editorials in this podcast audio log, and I'm just moving forward now. Okay. And there is a continuation of this article news that we yesterday saw. Like we were reading about the articles of meeting of Mr. S. Jaishankar and the foreign minister of the China, Mr. King Gang. So they're saying like border situation is stable, says China's foreign minister. So King Gang says that the border situation is stable, but we all know what reality the situation is. So the situation along the India-China border is generally stable, and both the sides should draw lessons from the history. Visiting Chinese Foreign Minister King Gang told External Minister S. Jaishankar in talk on the Thursday. The Chinese Foreign Minister, in a statement on talk released early on Friday, said Mr. Qin pointed out that the current situation in China border is generally stable, and the two sides should continue to implement important consensus between the leaders of the two countries and consolidate the achievement made, strictly abide by the relevant agreements and protocols, promote further cooling and easing of the border situations, and maintaining sustainable peace and tranquility in the border area. So Mr. Jaishankar said that he had a detailed discussion with the State Councilor and Foreign Ministers King Gang of China on the bilateral relation, and the focus of the remains on the resolving out the standing issues and ensuring peace and tranquility in the border areas. Though following their talks and the sidelines of the SCO foreign ministers meeting in the Benalum, Goa. So Mr. King Gang and other Chinese officials have described the border situation as being stable and moving to what they have called normalized management, and asked India to place the issue and appropriate position in the relationship. So Indian officials have reiterated their view, and relations with China still remain abnormal, and have called for urgency to completing the disengagement process in the two remaining friction areas in Depsang and Demchok. So the India response was like that the situation is still abnormal, and they want some disengagement process that is really happening right now in the Depsang and Demchok Valley. So India's response was like that they still taking their standpoint now. But China has dragged its feet in a slow-moving disengagement talks that have continued for last 3 years. So lesson from history. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of troops remain in forward areas. India has so-called the de-induction of the troops and de-escalation to return to the April 2020 status quo, which China has rejected. Mr. Kim describes both countries as the two most populous developing countries in the world, and both they are in critical period of their modernization. So we should draw lessons from history, approach our bilateral relations from a strategic and long-term perspective, respect, learn from, and make achievement from each other, and embark on the new path of the harmonious, peaceful development and common rejuvenation among major neighbors. So, as to learn impetus to the national rejuvenation and inject stability and positive energy into world peace and development, he said. Though this was all said by the Chinese counterpart, and the China is willing to work with India to carry out the bilateral consultation and exchanges, enhance the dialogue and cooperation under the multilateral framework. So deepening coordination on international and regional issues. He also said all those things. But India has, however, maintained that this would only be possible if the LAC disengagement is completed and the peace is restored on the borders. Right, so this was the article about it. Now, let's move on to the next news article. If there is some picture, okay. Uh, so there is a small article about the carbon tax. So as we were reading about carbon tax yesterday also. So the Commerce Ministry is exploring various options to cope with the European Union's decisions to introduce a carbon tax. So including retaliatory tariff measures, a challenge at the World Trade Organization, and measures to help small Indian exporters, a top trade official said. So European Union plans to introduce a carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is CBAM, that will entail a monitoring mechanism for imports from producers deploying non-green technologies starting with October and tax levy from the January 2026. So this is likely to hit Indian metal and engineering products and exports to the UE because European Union is planning to just impose this carbon border adjustment mechanism, and which will introduce some tax for the some kind of businesses like the metal production or some other production, and this will likely be going to hit the India export because of those European rules for the carbon taxes. So addressing this challenge is one of the top agenda items for the Commerce Department, and several options are being examined. Director General of Foreign Trade Santosh Kumar Sarangi said at meeting hosted by Engineering Goods Exporters Body EEPC India on Thursday. So how do we create a mechanism which will support a micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, our steel industries, our aluminum industries is something which is the Department, Commerce, Ministry of Steel and MSME Ministry all are trying to work together. So EEPC India Chairman Arun Kumar Garodia made a pitch for including the primary iron and steel sector into the remission of the duties and tax on export products. So schemes and raising these schemes benefit for engineering products. So the rebate given by RODTEP, which is remission duties on taxes on export products, RODTEP for engineering sector is in the range of 0.5 to 1%, which is lower than the incentive provided under the earlier merchandise big exports from India seems that offered incentive in the range of 2 to 5%, said. So our Commerce Ministry just finding some ways or looking for some solution for the dealing with the European Union carbon tax plan. So okay, so we have to just remember about the European Union is planning to introduce a carbon border adjustment mechanism. Okay, now moving on to the next. There's an article, it says like Pakistan minister is a promoter of terror industry, Mr. S. Jaishankar said. So calling Pakistan foreign minister Bilwal Bhutto Zardari a promoter and a justifier and a spokesperson of terrorism, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar said on Friday hit out Islamabad for its continued support of the terror groups. Yes, so speaking at the end of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council for Foreign Ministers that he chaired, Mr. Jaishankar said India felt outrage over the incident on Friday, referring to firing in Rajouri in which 5 Indian soldiers were killed. So the spat between the two countries came into the SCO Foreign Ministers meeting, agreed to strengthen cooperation in a number of areas including economic and technology spheres, announcing the results of the ministers' deliberation. Mr. Jaishankar also proposals on making English an additional official language to Russian and Chinese at the SCO and setting up working groups on innovation and startup and traditional learning were introduced. So the ministers agreed on 15-point decision document that will be taken forward for the SCO Head State Committee due on July 3 and 4 Delhi. SCO Head Summit होगी जो 3-4 जुलाई को, तो उसमें वो लोग उस डिसीजन की बात करेंगे. 15-point decision डॉक्यूमेंट उन्होंने जो बनाया है. So after a customary greeting from the Friday morning, Jaishankar welcomed his counterparts to SCO CFM. However, in their speeches, both the minister Jaishankar Bhutto traded veiled accusations over cross-border terrorism and the amendment to Article 370 that granted Jammu Kashmir special status. So while briefing to the journalists, Mr. Jaishankar also said that he was forced to distinguish between hosting the Pakistan minister as a member of SCO or treating him differently for Mr. Bhutto's comments on terrorism. So he said, Foreign Minister SCO said that Mr. Bhutto Zardari was treated accordingly as per the promoter, justified as spokesperson of terrorism industry and the Ministry of Pakistan. His positions were called out, countered and included at SCO meeting. So Mr. Jaishankar also sharply questions about China official statement issued after his meeting with his Chinese counterpart King Gang on Thursday that he stated that the situation is LAC unstable. Or the situation is stable. So that was another to Mr. Jaishankar said. He said the India and China need to take this engagement process forward. So India-China relations are not normal and cannot be normal if peace and tranquility are disturbed. So in a statement at the CFM, Mr. Kong did not refer to the situation of LAC but spoke about the Belt and Road Initiative. He said that Beijing would hold a major BRI conference this year with all the parties to take cooperation forward. India has consistently opposed the inclusion of BRI in the SCO statement and the regularly abstain paragraph that refers to the Chinese Infrastructure Initiative, which other SCO countries endorse. So earlier addressing SCO meetings, Mr. Bhutto called for the members not to weaponize terrorism, diplomatic points. So in a reference to the reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir, he also spoke about the unilateral and illegal measures by the state in violation of the international law and UNSC resolution. Mr. Jaishankar also responded that Pakistan should wake up and smell the coffee. Article 370 in history. He said, referring to Bhutto contention that he made during the press conference as well as interview with the Indian Mercy Reverse in the movement on August 15, 2019. The only issue over Kashmir of discussion with Pakistan is over, and when they will give up their occupation of Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Mr. Jaishankar added. Okay, so we have read this article, and now I'm going to just see some other article. Okay. So CBI raids office of Jet Airways founder's house in fraud case. Okay, so we were reading about the ongoing collapse of another airlines like Go First, which are like on the verge of collapsing, and we were reading also about like Jet Airways and some other airlines were also collapsed in past, and so this news is like kind of continuation to those articles. So CBI just raided 7 locations in Mumbai, and this includes the Jet Airways founder locations as well, Jindaresh Goyal residence, in connection with alleged bank fraud of 538 crores in Canara Bank. Okay, so CBI is raiding the different locations of this Jet Airways owner. So, yeah, so just know about this, and now moving to some other news articles. Okay. So there is one article in the world news. So COVID pandemic is no longer an emergency, declares WHO. So WHO has now declared that the COVID pandemic is no longer be considered as a global emergency. So this marks the symbolic ending of the devastating coronavirus pandemic that triggered one unthinkable lockdowns and upended economies and killed millions of people worldwide. So the announcement was more than like 3 years. So the announcement took almost 3 years. After WHO declared the coronavirus as an international crisis, offers a coda to pandemic that stirred fear and suspicion, handing ringing and finger pointing across the globe. And they also said it's not the end, but it's over. The phases of emergency is over, but pandemic hasn't ended. Right? Okay. Now moving on to the some other articles. Is there any more article here? So in the business section, we have this news: January to March, gold demand falls 17% on high prices. This is a report by World Gold Council. So what is in this report? With high prices, the demand for gold in India for Q1, January to March, shrank by 17% to 112.5 tons as compared with overall demand of 135.5 tons in the year earlier period. So the World Gold Council said. So India gold demand value during the quarter was 56,220 crores, and then down of 9% from 61,540 crores. So it was previously 61,540 crores, and then after the downfall of 9%, it remains at 56,220 crores in this current Q1 of 2023. And the jewelry demand has also declined by 17% to 78 tons from 94.2 tons earlier year. So total investment demand for the quarter at 34.4 tons decreased by 17% year over year. Okay, so the gold demand is just kind of on declining phase. because of high prices of the gold. As we know that the gold has first time crossed the 61,000 rupees of the level. Okay, now India set to mull foreign investments in nuclear power. So what is this? India is considering overturning a ban on foreign investment in its nuclear power industry and allowing greater participation by domestic private firms. So two government sources told this. And so the measures have been recommended by the group panel set up by think tank Niti Aayog. The aim to reduce carbon emissions and nuclear is in focus because they can supply energy 24 by 7, unlike solar energy, said the official, who declined to be the. Okay, so India's current nuclear power capacity is around 6,780 megawatts. Okay, let's see. There is not. Okay, so there is one more article is the related to appointment. So Accenture appoints Ajay Vij as India MD. So Accenture said that appointed Ajay Vij as country managing director, newly created role for, and the Sandeep Datta as a lead in its market unit. So you'll just remember these names, like Ajay Vij has been appointed as India's MD. Now there's one more article about SEBI set to direct brokers to limit use of financial influencers. So India's market regulator, as we know, is SEBI. So he said that brokers and mutual funds to limit the use of financial influencers in advertising and marketing campaigns, according to two people with the direct knowledge of the matter. So, a surge in the retail investor in equity market during the pandemic led to a proliferation of influencers pushing financial advice on social media platforms. So, SEBI fears that they could mislead the investors, according to the people who spoke on conditions of anonymity about decision that has been not reported previously. So, SEBI did not respond immediately to a request from comment, but SEBI will define that kind of advice is seen on misleading after issuing a consultant's paper and seeking industry comments before finalizing regulations. The person added with the rule violations attracting fines and directions include a ban from the capital markets, and curbing such a spread of financial advice has been a challenge across global markets. So this was what SEBI said. Now let's see, is there any one more news? Okay, now we are in the sports section, so let's see if there is any useful sports news. So there's a heading like Mirabai Chanu finishes 6th in Asian weightlifting championship. Okay, so world and Olympic silver medalist lifter Mirabai Chanu took the 6th place in women's 49 kg with a total of 194 kg despite a hip joint issue. So Mirabai Chanu, he stood 6th in the Asian weightlifting championship under the category of 49 kg. And is there one more article? Okay. In the sports section, I'm looking for if there is any article. Okay. Yeah, so there is one more article about Neeraj Chopra, who spears gold with world-leading efforts of 88.67 meter. So Olympic champion Mr. Neeraj Chopra, who is a javelin thrower, defeated Granda world champion Anderson Peters to win the Diamond League season opener in the Doha with an impressive world leading 88.67 meter on Friday. So just remember this thing. Okay, now, okay, so this was all about in today's newspaper, and I'm going to just read those editorials later, and we'll try to understand those editorials and just see, and also we'll use some vocabulary for that, improve the vocab sections of mine as well. Okay, take care everyone, bye bye.